We know that Santa Claus is coming to town tonight, so let's talk a little bit about his story. This is Saint Nicholas. He was a 5th century saint from Myra in Turkey who was known for his generous gift giving. And he is the inspiration for Santa Claus through the Dutch Sinterklaas. But originally, Santa Claus was not this jolly figure that we know him as. In Northern Europe, there were various seasonal figures all over the place, like the Frost King, the Winter King, or Old Man Winter. In Anglo Saxon England, Old Man Winter was also known as Father Christmas. Again, he was a seasonal figure and he was associated with winter. Now, this time he didn't have a very big role to play during Christmas. He had a small role as the organizer of folk plays known as mummers' plays. There was also the Lord of Misrule, another character that played a much more central role in household festivities during Christmas. But there was no central figure for Father Christmas or Santa Claus. It was the Americans who brought us Santa. It was in 1773, the same week as the Boston Tea Party, when the Rivington's New York Gazetteer mentioned the celebration of St. Nicholas's feast at a Protestant church. The Rivington's New York Gazetteer called him Santa Claus, and then did so again the next year in 1774. But then after that, there was no more mention of Santa for 47 years, till 1821, when he was mentioned in a children's book called A New Year's Gift to the Little Ones. Santa starts to become whoever he is now in Knickerbocker's History of New York, written by a Washington Irving. He wrote an imaginative account of the Dutch colony of New York in the mid-1700s, and wrote about how St. Nicholas was their patron saint, helped them to get there, helped to settle them, and watched over them, and then flew down in his wagon every year on his feast day to give them presents. Initially, he gave them presents. He gave the presents to everybody, even adults, but then he got annoyed with the adults and started giving the presents only to children, only at night, and he dropped them through the chimney into the stockings that were hanging by the fireplace. Irving wrote his History of New York in 1809. Santa became the plump, jolly guy we know and love in a poem called A Visit from St. Nicholas, or as we know it, was the night before Christmas. This was written by Clement Clark Moore, who was a friend of Washington Irving, and he wrote it in 1822. Santa's image became firmly established by illustrator Thomas Nast, who was an illustrator at Harper's Weekly and depicted Santa every Christmas on the cover from 1860s to the 1880s. How did we get the jolly, plump Santa in the red suit? Well, that was Coca-Cola. While they did not invent Santa, they did give him the red suit, and their advertisements popularized him all over the place. Obviously, when Santa comes to town, at the head of his sleigh will be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But when did Rudolph arrive in the picture? It was in 1939. He was a character in a free children's book called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer by Robert L. May, who was a small-time copywriter, and it was given to kids by the department store chain called Montgomery Ward. By the way, Robert L. May was Jewish, and 10 years later, his brother-in-law wrote the song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and his brother-in-law, Thomas Marks, was also Jewish.